On Patrol with the Suffolk County PBA is a dynamic podcast that brings together some of the most influential voices in the nation.
From union leaders and elected officials to law enforcement experts who explore the pressing issues shaping America.
Through thought-provoking conversations, we empower listeners to think critically about law enforcement, political policy, and the future of our society.
Available on Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and all Suffolk PBA social media platforms. Tune in to On Patrol with the Suffolk County PBA.
Another episode of On Patrol with the Suffolk County PBA. I'm CJ Hutter, the treasurer of the PBA.
I'm Tanner Brandemore, the sergeant at arms of the PBA.
And today we have joining us Nick Caracappa. Nick is a Suffolk County Legislator from the 4th District. And he's been very helpful there in the legislature. He's been a great friend to us, and we're happy to have you on.
Well, it's great to be here. Thanks for joining with family over here. This is nice.
Yeah. You know, Nick's somebody we see very often. We go to a lot of the same events, a lot of the community events. Nick's been very active with a lot of the stuff that goes on in the Middle Country School District, Selden School District, and you've been kind of growing up in public service, right? I mean, going back to even your mother, you've seen this your entire life as a child, just the value of public service and giving back to your community.
Yeah, I've been going to that horseshoe since, early teens.
Right.
I used to go kicking and screaming, I was like, I'm not leaving you home alone. You're coming to the meeting today. And I would go, and somewhere along the line, things started resonating. If I'd be in a shopping center with my mom, people would be walking up to her constantly. Mrs. Caracappa, Legislator Rose, thank you for everything you've done. You helped out my dad. You helped out my aunt. You helped out my son. I started looking at it like, my mom's kind of like a superhero.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm like, wow, she's just more than, just a mom who cleans the house and makes a dynamite sauce, and, sets me straight many, many times. And I'm lucky and thankful and grateful for all of that. But yeah, she started, I started seeing her in a different light, and going to the Republican clubs with her and going to certain, civics, and it started resonating.
Right.
I figured it's something I want to do.
Yeah. And
eventually.
Your mom is somebody who had a real big effect on the community. And I mean, you saw it day to day, like you said, in the grocery store, members of the community just coming up and thanking her. But I mean, if you look around Suffolk County right now, there are parks named after your mother, baseball fields named after your mother. There's a senior center named after your mother. Like, your mother has had a huge effect in helping people, and it's been recognized by organizations all over the county.
Yeah, it's an honor for me to walk in that auditorium.
Yeah.
Every time, the Rose Caracappa Legislative Auditorium. And like you mentioned, the other places, Brookhaven Town, honored my mom, with a great amount of respect with what you said, the parks, the ballparks, the senior center. And then there was the post office in Centereach. It is named after my mom. That's a federal building. Those honors usually reserved for people who served in a federal capacity. But yet, the Congressman, Mike, slips in my, I'm not remember his last name for some reason. I'm sorry. Mike Forbes. I knew I'd get it. But he felt compelled when he came and visited us and said, look, I'm thinking about doing this. And we were like, really? Wow. Yeah, it blows you away,
Yeah.
And even at that age, you kind of get the significance of it. So, yeah, it's been, and you said I grew up in it and saw it, which is true, but I didn't see nearly what my mom was doing, the effect she had on people. Those stories still come to me today. If we're at an event, someone will come up and say, I knew your mom. She did X, Y, and Z. And it's a brand new story for me. And I love and adore every single one of them. And I appreciate people sharing those with me.
Yeah, that's great, because especially, your mom's passed a few years back, and now to be able to still hear those stories and people remember her and value everything she did, it's like, her memory is going to continue to live on, right?
Right.
Yeah.
30 years just passed May 28th, and the presiding officer and my colleagues at the legislature, we stood up and he said some wonderful things about her, and my colleagues all, they were great about it. So I really do appreciate it. 30 years later, still honoring
it's
my
incredible.
mom. So yeah, I appreciate that. I really do. Thanks guys for
Her career must have been really inspiring. And I know, like, one of the mottos that you live by, you quoted in one of the papers was, I think she said that to serve the people, you have to be like one of the people. What did that mean to you growing up, and how has that shaped you as a legislator?
That quote, to serve the people, you must be one of the people, has was probably the most impactful statement to me, because I used that everywhere I went when I became a union leader, when I became a school board member, trustee, when I became a PTA member, when I became part of the civics. It didn't matter. You always served. You spoke issues about the community, what affects our families. Mm-hmm. And what I always say now is, if I fail your family, I fail my family, and that's not an option for me. And I'll say that quite often, so I want people to understand exactly what it means. I live in the house I grew up in, right? I bought that after she passed. I raised my kids in that house, my family. We are deeply rooted in the Selden community, Centereach community. Now, with the work I've been doing in the Farmingville community, parts of Caracappa, I just inherited with the new lines, Medford. For the first time, the 4th LD is south of the expressway. A big chunk of Coram, Longwood School District, and now even Port Jeff Station. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's 3 extra school districts, 3 extra libraries, chambers of commerce, civics. It's a lot, but I love it.
But the best part about government too is that you have to really relate to the people and get to know them. So like really doing the work and grinding it out and figuring out what people need in your community. That's a big part of what you do. And sometimes that's not always agreeing with what letters next to your name when you go to the horseshoe, but you got to figure out what's best for your communities.
100%. The county, I think we're pretty locked in on committed to being the best representatives we can be. And that means working with our counterparts, our colleagues, but counterparts as far as, conservative, Republican, Democrats. We have a good relationship as far as communication, getting things done. We will not always agree on everything, but we can work together and most times find a middle ground to get things to where they need to be. And that's a far cry from what it was. When I first got elected, I was elected in 2020, got sworn in 21. I was in the minority for a year. Mm-hmm. It was a little different then. I'm being completely honest. I lived it. It was more partisan politics at that time. We have grown, we have matured, we have made it better. And now with our new county executive, Ed Romaine, we have an opportunity to create more for our constituents, our residents, put more services out there, which we are doing, fixing our infrastructure, which we are doing, putting more police on the street, which we are doing, making our community safer. It's all takes time to build back. It takes time to correct what was wrong, but we're doing it. By the way, gentlemen, first of all, happy Father's Day to you, belated.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you, sir. And also congratulations on your contract, which we are in the middle of negotiating all these contracts. It's unfortunate that the last administration left, and I guess it was calculated that all of these unit contracts expired when the new county executive came in. But we're navigating through it. We got through the PBA, your contract. I think we're pretty good with the corrections, and we're going to go down the line, and we're going to be as fair and equitable as possible because we appreciate all the employees of Suffolk County, and we're a partnership. Mm-hmm. And guys, when I see you come and thank me, I thank you. It's because it's a partnership, and that's how I approach everything. I don't look down at anybody because everybody has a contribution. Everybody is doing their part. So we had DPW outside of the legislature building, and they're taking out all the overgrowth, putting in new stuff. You stop and talk to them, thank them. They're out there baking in the sun. It was like one of the hottest days last week. They're doing their jobs. Right. And they're doing it well, and we appreciate that.
We appreciate all your support. You've always had our backs, so we'd like to reiterate that on the show, that you've always been supportive of us.
Well, anyone who doesn't support law enforcement, anyone who doesn't get the fact that you put it all on the line every day you walk out, you leave your homes to protect and serve, you take a risk. And we can just go back, months, years, and see your colleagues who have been injured, who've made sacrifices. You're risking it. You're putting our family's safety above your own because you're out there and putting it on the line. Like I said, anyone who doesn't get that, anyone who doesn't believe that we should be supporting law enforcement of every unit, police, sheriffs, our corrections, our court officers, our probation officers, all of them. Everybody in law enforcement, there's a reason you guys are trained the way you are, carry weapons, because you're defending not only yourself, you're defending us. Okay? And, luckily, thankfully, we have, and I'll be biased about it, I think we have the best police force in New York State, if not the country. You guys approach your jobs with such professionalism and dedication and commitment. The number of you that I do know, I'll walk up and shake your hands. If I know you're not, I'm going to walk up and thank everybody in that room. So, and anybody who doesn't have that kind of respect for law enforcement, I got no respect for them.
Yeah, we appreciate you saying that. And it goes a long way for us as a police department to have a county legislature that supports us and backs us up and gives us the tools we need to succeed. Like you had just mentioned, we're upping the amount of police officers now in the police department because we got to a very low head count just between 5 and 10 years ago. We were at something like 1,400 members, and now we're back in around 1,700. So we're
still low,
and we're still low, right?
Yes.
We're still low when you compare us to what our historical highs were. We're still low, and with newer times and updates in technology come newer types of crimes, right? Identity thefts, all these different kind of white collar crimes that you didn't see, say 20, 30 years ago that are going on now. And we need to be able to have police officers or detectives and supervisors assigned to units to be able to investigate these issues that didn't exist 30 years ago. So head counts from 30 years ago don't necessarily translate to the correct head count for today as things develop.
The population increase too. The population
Absolutely.
is growing, especially on Long Island.
Right.
Everybody wants to be on Long Island.
That's right. Well, we had all the city folk come out there.
That's right.
And they never left.
Yeah.
They appreciate our parks. They appreciate our beaches. They appreciate everything about our and how safe it is, really, relative to where they came from. So, our population is growing. That's an excellent point. And the technology and the white collar crimes are, it's not easy. But you guys, like I said earlier, you guys are out there. You guys are making a difference. When people don't notice, that's a good thing.
Right.
When people don't, hey, look, things are quiet. They don't even realize that, it's your presence.
Right.
That makes a difference in these communities. So, yeah.
For us, it's great to be able to see, like you had already mentioned, your counterparts in other parties, right? Because you're a conservative, which very strongly aligns with Republicans, so to speak, as people think national terms. But a lot of our Democrats here are good as well. We just had Tom Donnelly on. Tom's a great common sense guy, and I've seen instances where you guys have that open line of communication where you could have a normal conversation and come to some sort of middle ground and compromise for what's best for the residents of the county. And it's great to see that, because if you look just 2 counties to the west in Queens, right, and anywhere in the 5 boroughs, it gets very messy there in city council.
It's mayhem.
And our county legislature operates nothing like the city council, because there it's literally one party rule, and they've done everything they could, at least it seems, to make the jobs of law enforcement more difficult.
It's like it's the Wild West. It really is, and how some people are. I don't want to say brainwashed. They've just been, groomed to think that the police are bad for the community, and I just can't agree with that. I mean, you're gonna have bad apples. There's bad teachers. There's bad cops. There's bad union members. There's bad everything. Bad politicians. And I'm not a politician, by the way. I'm an elected official. So I just want to make sure everybody out there realizes that I'm one of the people. But you're always going to have 1 or 2 bad eggs. You're going to have that no matter where you go. There are such things as bad people. But I think everybody, the representatives recognize that. And I used to say, as a union leader, I'm not going to spend a nickel of this union's money, fighting for something that you knew full well. You're a grown adult. You know right from wrong. And if you blatantly did something, theft of services or theft of product, whatever it may be, theft of time, you're going to be accountable. The one thing I can say is that if I accept accountability, I have every right to expect accountability. And that goes for my colleagues, that goes for my constituents, that goes for my children. So it's about being accountable for your actions. And it's okay to make mistakes, right? It's okay. You have to learn from them. If you keep repeating the same mistake, well, those no longer become lessons.
Right.
They become, a little more than that. And they become expensive. And they became, if you got to do time, whatever it is, you don't want to do that. I've grown up with kids, people I went to school with, and you saw them making those mistakes at an early age.
Right.
You saw those who corrected them and went on to be, successful. And when I say success, working, raising a family, owning a home, you don't have to be millionaires to be a success. You have to just coexist, be a part of your community, be a part of the fabric. Sustainability to your communities to be a success. And then there's ones that never learned, never accepted accountability for actions, always pointed the finger at someone else. It's always someone else's fault. It's never my fault. It's the same ones.
Right.
And you see that growing up. You see that in your own unions, right? And people that you're with. You get a handful of those people who just can't accept accountability. And the more you try to help them, the more they expect and the more they, turn on you. So let's not get out of whack with this conversation. I'm just saying, no matter where you are, whether it's politics, a corporation, a small business, for the most part, people are there for the right reasons. They're trying to make everything better, successful, bigger, right? And that's the name of the game. We want to grow. We want to expand. We want everybody's life to be a little bit easier. The quality of life in our communities, a little bit better. Right. Let's just keep following that, right? So it's going to take some time. Believe me, I'm not here saying, we're the almighty, flash of a wand, everything's better. It's not. Right. And we recognize that.
Right. And I think, one of the things that we mention here, especially when we're dealing with, when a cop makes a mistake, right? Or we're dealing with internal affairs, there's a big difference between a mistake of the head and a mistake of the heart, right? When you make a mistake of the head, it's something you could learn and adjust. And it's not like you intentionally did something that was wrong. You just maybe you didn't know any better and you could learn from it, move on. A mistake of the heart is different. You had the intentions of not doing the right thing, right? There's a big difference there. And I would say 99.9% of the cases, at least that I've dealt with in internal affairs, because I used to go there all the time as a precinct trustee before I was the treasurer of the PBA, 99.9% of the time, it was a mistake of the head. We could move on from this issue. The cop could be retrained in the manner, and it doesn't happen again, right? So there's a big difference. And I think a lot of the extremism that went on in this country, they tried to paint everything as mistakes of the heart, where cops were out there trying to do the wrong thing when they weren't.
Right. Hey, look, opportunists. Right.
Absolutely.
When people have an agenda and they get one little thing they can try and capitalize and use against, and they make a big thing of it. Listen, I don't want to get too much into the weeds with this stuff. I don't like to give them any kind of recognition whatsoever. Right. We will overcome. Good overcomes evil all the time. When you listen to their rants and you listen to their arguments, they are nonsensical. They just don't make any kind of sense. Not common sense anyway, I can tell you that. But in their mind, they think they're right. So, listen, just go do your protesting, go do your rallies, go raise your fists in the air, go do whatever makes you happy in this life. That's your right. But once you cross that line, once you start throwing bricks, once you start getting in people's face, well, and then there's consequences, right?
That's right.
All right. So just be ready and be prepared, because they don't want to accept consequences. Right. Right. They're above the law. Well, until they're not.
That's a big thing with bail reform, how they changed the laws with bail reform. I know this is more of a state issue, but we should really be working to help the people that are good actors in the community. Just like in your own community, I'm sure that the bail reform laws have changed the shape of what's going on in the district that you serve.
Absolutely. In every district. But that bail reform, it helps the repeat offenders. It's geared towards criminals. And it makes it easy then for to repeat their mistakes, repeat their violations, repeat their criminal activity with very little to no consequence. I'm dealing with the issues right now. We have some minors in our community that are on these e-bikes, they're regular bikes. They're in the middle of the roadways. They're harassing people, intimidating people. And they're young, they're stupid, but listen, they're crossing the line. Where are the parents on this? And these kids are smart. They wear their bandanas around their face and, where are the parents' supervision on this? I mean, I know what my kids are up to. And listen, they make mistakes. Believe me, we all do. But at least I I know my daughter is on the phone and I know what they're doing. We stay in constant contact throughout the day, whether texting or calling. And I'm a busy guy. We all have busy schedules. Take 2 seconds out, text your kid. Where are you? What are you up to? When are you going to be home? Check their location. You know if they're lying to you. It doesn't take a whole lot, and they'll get the picture. Because once you catch them a couple times, and there's consequences, right?
Right.
But the bail reform, where's the consequences?
Right. There are none.
There are none. There's very little. And then you guys, I've heard it right from the police. It's frustrating for them to go out there, do their jobs, make a collar, bring the perp in, and it's like a revolving door.
Yep. They're
out the door in no time, and what are they doing? They're laughing. You're sitting at a desk doing 3-4 hours of paperwork, and they're already on their way back to the street, back to get their drugs, back to do their criminal activity, because there is no consequences for their actions.
Right.
How are you going to learn from that? How does Albany think that that's okay? Every time we come up with another something that we think is going to be good, if it has any penalization in it, the governor doesn't want to hear it. She doesn't want to penalize any more people. She doesn't want to overcrowd our jails or whatever it is. Raise the age. Listen, nobody wants to see a minor spend a year in jail for stealing a pair of sneakers, especially if the kid didn't have sneakers. You can find out the story, right, and try and correct the situation as best you can. No one wants to see a kid, but hold the kid accountable.
Right.
Hold the kid accountable to a degree where he's going to learn from that, not just pat him on the tush and say, all right, be on your way.
And the accountability leads to less recidivism too, because if you hold somebody accountable, like that kid who's just trying to get a pair of sneakers, right, because his current shoes have holes in them or whatever,
right?
If you hold them accountable, and you don't hold their feet to the fire, but you make sure they know there are consequences for the actions. If you continue this sort of behavior going forward, you're not going to have these people committing 20 larcenies and getting arrested 20 times. Right. People need to be able to learn from their mistakes.
Right.
And you do something once. All right, we could hopefully you learn from it. We don't have to punish you to the fullest extent, right? You learn from it. But once somebody's committing these crimes over and over again, it's the recidivism that becomes the biggest issue, the biggest part of this equation.
That's 100% correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, we see it. Everyone sees it. Some people just stick their heads in the sand.
Right.
It's not their problem. It's someone else's problem.
Right. And
that's where you get people taking matters into their own hands because they're just tired of it. And who pays the price for that? Right? It's just keep a cool head, ladies and gentlemen. People who listen out there, it's frustrating, I know, but the law is on our side. It may not seem like it sometimes. These officers are doing the best they can with what they have. Give them a shot. Call them. Let them do their job. And that's all the advice I can give them.
Right. And that's what's great about the Suffolk County Legislature and the current administration we have, because you guys have actually been passing local laws that give us more power to address some of the local conditions like the street racing.
Street racing, correct. Yep. Yeah. And the Reckless Bike Act we put in. That's something that was my first piece of legislation I put in as a freshman. And it got vetoed. It was unanimously passed, got vetoed by the past administration, and then stolen and recrafted by one of my legislators on the other side. And that's fine. I still voted for it because it was good for our community. Right. So you see past those kind of things for great.
And that speaks to your character. You were able to get past the partisan politics and say, you know what, this is something that I put forward a year prior. Here it is now. At least let's do something to help the constituents. And the people that pay attention know that. Like we see that. We always have a representative at the legislature. We're always watching what's going on.
You're always present. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's not just us, right? The corrections union always 100%. Has people there. Probation always has people there. The detectives. So we know what's going on, and we have those open lines of communication where we could tell you guys what we could use and what we need to do the job.
And you do. And we appreciate that because what better source of information for people who are right there doing it. Right. So, and between the county executive, the executive branch, and the legislative branch, you have a whole lot of support.
Right.
And kudos to you guys and thank you. That's the best we can say is thank you for everything you do. We'll sum it up with that, man,
Thank you. And, one of the things I want to point out too is not every public safety issue necessarily has to get addressed in the public safety committee, right? I mean, you chair the veterans committee. You're part of the housing committee. you've crafted bills in the past that help address veterans homelessness and homelessness in general, right? Where if we can combat some of the vagrancy that's out there, because a lot of these people end up in these situations because of drug use and lives of crime. If we can get them off the streets, it helps us do our jobs too, because there's less people out there committing crimes.
Well, I believe in common sense legislation.
Right.
I don't believe in over government. I believe in correcting the wrongs. Another piece of my legislation was the tow truck bill. And to put it quickly, when tow truck drivers come to pick up a disabled vehicle, one that's been in an accident, they take the vehicle, but they leave the mirrors, the broken glass, the bumpers. You see bumpers on the side of
all that debris just laying there.
Yeah. Right, in our roadways. And that creates more hazard for our pedestrians, for our commuters, whatever it may be. The vehicle hits that piece of debris, shoots up.
Potentially another accident would occur.
Correct. So common sense. Now, it's a law that when the tow truck company comes to pick up that vehicle, they have to take the entire vehicle, including all the little pieces.
Right.
Put the stuff down to mop up the oil or the antifreeze. Take away the flares. That's all part of the scene. So that's all part of it. And I worked with your past president on that one, Noel DiGirolamo. We wanted to make sure everybody's safe. Everybody was happy with it. I worked with DPW to make sure there was no, infiltration of their union work, but it worked out great. And again, unanimously passed. Mario Montero took it up to the state and it's still sitting there today.
Oh, jeez.
That's what differentiates us county from the state. We actually put legislation that works for the communities. Then there was the affordable housing that you mentioned for our veterans, for our youth, for our seniors. Look, we know people are fleeing Long Island, Suffolk County in masses because there's better opportunities, affordable housing elsewhere, job opportunities. We're going through great measures here in Suffolk County to correct that wrong. So the affordable housing, if you have any kind of subsidies whatsoever through the county, we lobby the IDA if they give subsidies, or if you hook up to a public STP, sewage treatment plant, you now have to set aside a certain amount of units at a true affordable housing, 80% AMI or less. This affordable housing that they were getting subsidies for, these so-called affordable housing, was 120, 130, 140 AMI. That's a one-bedroom or two-bedroom apartment from $3,600 a month to $4,600 a month. What affordable is that? Where's the affordability there for kids out of college?
Right.
That's not affordable to somebody out of college.
That's right. I mean, you're starting, especially for these, when you're leaving college and you're starting these new jobs, whether it's a teacher, you're going into the trades, you're always starting at that lower scale. Right. Even in law enforcement, you're starting at the lower scale. You got to work your way up. So it's designed and it's W-2 basis, based on salaries. So if you fit within that category of the salary bracket, you fit that, you're in the running for the lottery to get that affordable unit. And once your W-2 reflects that you've grown up and you've made it, you're established, you're now at the next tier, it opens up for the next round of people coming in. So that's common sense. Had we have done that, that's economics 101. Had we have done that 20 years ago, the supply and demand of affordable housing wouldn't be where it is today. So, and now we have my new resolution out, which is going to be addressing these group homes in Suffolk County and the bad actors, these LLCs that are coming in and buying up, I want to say 20, 30 homes, but we have people out there with 600 homes, 200 homes that are overcrowding these homes. They're putting 20, 30 people in it, and the county's got to pay for that through DSS because the state mandated to do so. So what we did was we looked at the law, current law, and what we're adding now is local jurisdiction. So now when there's a complaint or something comes up in these houses, there's cars parked on the lawn, overcrowded in the streets, people using outside the home to go number ones and twos, to use that as, because they're being encouraged to do that because the cesspools can't, accept that capacity. So you have all these issues going on with these homes. You have these landlords, these LLCs that are overcrowding these houses. They're violating every local zoning and structural law, fire codes, sanitary codes, occupancy codes. It goes on. The list goes, structural codes. It goes on and on. And if we send a inspector there from the town, they tell them, you're not coming in.
Right.
And there's no consequence. There's zero consequence. Now, at least if to maintain that renter's license, you'll have to have an inspection by that local, township, whether it be Brookhaven, Islip, Huntington. Without that certification, DSS won't pay you. And, it's going to be a fight. It's going to be an uphill battle. Because the homeless problem is not getting better here in Suffolk County. It's getting worse. So why is that? I believe it's because we are, we are allowing these LLCs to exploit the needy and get rich. They're getting rich off this. Millions of dollars are going to this. I believe firmly that I'm elected to represent my constituents. That's the hardworking middle class families. I'm not elected to represent the repeat offenders, the drug dealers, the drug addicts, the pimps, the prostitutes, who are all taking advantage of the system. Right. And some people say, well, a roof is better than no roof. No, it's not. Not when you pack 20 people in a house, sometimes 30, and there's a fire. Right. Now we lose 20, 30 people. Right? That's not giving them the services they need. We can't turn a blind eye to it because there's no place to put them. No, they're putting themselves in that place. You can't help those who don't want to be helped. Right? We shouldn't have tax dollars going toward these LLCs, making these people rich who are putting the safety of these people in jeopardy. You can't do that. We just simply cannot do that. Not only that, you as police officers know that these are the homes that you get called to quite often.
100%.
Violent, non-violent, they escalate. We've had incidents that have put you in danger, have injured some of your officers, and you have the first responders, you have the firefighters. They can navigate through a smoke-filled house, a normal smoke-filled house. You start putting up all these different walls here and there. That's a death trap. Absolutely. It's a maze that they can't get out of. And here they are putting their lives on the line, all right, to save these people who really don't want help to begin with. But if there's a fire, or if they're being assaulted or being beaten in these homes by other drug addicts, other repeat career criminals, then they want your help. Right. It's time to put a stop to that. Our taxpayers should not be going to fund these homes, making these LLCs, people who are exploiting these needs. They don't care about the services. They're providing zero services. Zero, except a roof in a packed house. Encouraging them to go to the bathroom outside. It has to stop. Is it going to get worse before it gets better? Probably. But maybe when people hit bottom, truly hit bottom, where there is now a roof, not a place to crash on top of another person, maybe they'll get the help they need. Because they come to Suffolk County and they say, look, I have a dependency. I need help. I have mental health issues. I need help. I need true shelter because I'm accepting these services. I really want to correct my life. We will provide those services, right? We cannot enable anybody anymore to continue on the path they're on because it's not getting better.
Right. And you know what I love about this too is it goes along with the broken windows theory that everybody's taught in the police academy, right? When you take care of the little issues, right? When you fight to stop, graffiti, urinating on the streets, the public drunkenness, like the little things, or what some people would consider little, it avoids bigger problems in the future. Because now that person who was drunk and urinating in the street isn't also breaking a glass window and stealing stuff from inside a storefront on Main Street, right? You're preventing the bigger problems from occurring by stopping the little problems before they start.
And the point of these housing programs should be to help people get out of the situation that they're in.
Right.
That's exactly right, Tom.
Especially with the occupancy problem, with what you're saying with the fire hazard and everything like that. Think about domestics that we go to all the time. In most family houses, you have 4 to 6 people in the majority of them. When you put 20 people in a house, you're bound to have issues between people. Fights are going to happen. And those things only escalate the more people that you have there. So
100%. Now, look, we're not targeting these homes that there are plenty of these homes that do it the right way. They're in compliance. They're in compliance with the Advent law. They're doing the right thing by the people, providing a healthy, safe environment, access to services when needed. We're not going after them. Right. We're going after the bad actors. And the ones that kick the residents out, they bring them in at nightfall, kick them out first thing in the morning, and they all congregate. They look at Coram. We just lost a Stop and Shop in Coram because there's so many people. And these communities like Coram were saturated with these homes. Mm-hmm. And these people who worked hard to purchase these homes, to start a life, raise a family, I'm getting complaints. I go to these civics and I hear nightmare stories that certain parts of the corridor of 25, Middle Country Road, they tell the kids, don't look out the window. We don't want you to see what's going on there. The lewdness, the public drinking, the urination, the prostitution. It's a shame. It's an embarrassment.
Yep.
And we are going to do something about it. I am working with the civics. I'm working with Dan Panico and the supervisor, all the council people in the town of Brookhaven. I met with the 10 town supervisors. We have to come together and start fighting back, taking back our communities. We can no longer represent and fight for those who take advantage of the system, who don't accept the services that are available to them. I just want to be able to crash at night. I'll be back out on the street first thing in the morning in front of these small businesses, in front of the 7-Elevens, heckling our wives or girlfriends or kids. I don't want that. We have to start taking it back. We'll start doing that piece by piece. I'm not afraid to get up and say I'm doing this. So people don't want to get in the middle of that argument. I'm not one to be intimidated. I'm here to do a job. I'm elected to do that job. I have no fear. And this particular bill is getting plenty of support from my colleagues, plenty of support from the towns and villages, plenty of support from our first responders, because everyone knows it's the right thing to do, but no one wants to get this into the middle of this rift. Bring it.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
I think it's a great example of how you can have such a big effect on public safety without it being something that people necessarily relate to directly to public safety. You know what I mean? It's something that it's not out of the public safety committee, but it addresses those public safety issues.
Correct. Like anything else, once the word starts getting out, write down the words out. Hey, look, man, we can do whatever we want, get away with it. Still have a place at night. We can do our drugs inside. If it's raining, if it's cold, we got a place to crash at night. Or, come with me. And this happened. This is a true story. A good friend of mine's child, problem with dependency, left the house for over a month. Came home because they were tired of living that lifestyle, being on the street. They hit bottom in a car in the street. Just a brutal lifestyle. And I won't get into the ugliness of it. Brutal lifestyle. And started getting themselves back on track, working, clean. It took that one person to come and say, listen, come hang out with us. We got a place to crash. It's a new place. Just opened a new home. And right back to it. Once people have that thought in their mind, they say, okay, it's not that bad anymore. We can go do it. No, it's bad. It's bad. I want you to know it's bad, and it's only going to get worse for you. Get the help you need. Suffolk County is ready, willing, and able to give you those services, but you got to want it. You really got to make that commitment to yourself, to your family, be true to yourself. We'll help you get there, but you're the one fighting that battle. We can encourage you. We can help you. We give you the services to try and get you there, but you got to want it. That's all really I can say about that.
Yeah, and that's great for everybody out there watching to hear too, because Suffolk County in particular has been hit with the opioid epidemic so hard over the last decade or so. And, I know as a street cop, I used to respond to overdoses. It seemed like, a weekly basis with Narcaning somebody, me in particular. So if I'm doing it on a weekly basis, that means it's happening on pretty much a nightly basis somewhere within the precinct, right? Yeah. So, it's great to hear these new approaches to help battling this issue from almost an outside of the box way of thinking.
Yeah. Well, it's a reality. Our district attorney, Ray Tierney, has been doing a remarkable job in cracking down on the fentanyl coming in and, just doing an amazing job all around. Street racing, you name it. Whatever Suffolk County is dealing with, our DA is out there. Ray Tierney is out there, kicking butt, taking names and making our community safer, making it safer for you guys. Because one of these guys off the road makes things safer. One of these guys put away, locked up, off our streets, makes things safer. We're doing it tenfold. We are making examples. We're taking away vehicles. We're taking away bikes. We're putting people, we're locking them up. We're actually locking them up. And, we're actually working on legislation that strengthens the ability for you guys, for the DA. We're giving you the tools you need to do the job that you're supposed to be doing, that we're supposed to protect and serve. Right. And Albany took a lot away from you. Well, we're going to fight to restore those tools to, hold those accountable for their actions. Right. Simple as that. let's talk about veterans.
Yeah, please.
I chair the veterans committees. I spend a lot of time with our veterans throughout Suffolk County. We're just coming off Memorial Day. It's just, and my mom chaired the Veterans Committee, and I remember all the work she did. My mom was responsible for getting Veterans Plaza in Hop Hog by the Dennison Building. It was her legislation, along with the Korean War Monument, the Women in Service Monument, and the largest monument in Suffolk County. That's the Vietnam Memorial at Bald Hill. That was her project, and the community responded, the businesses responded, the county responded, the town responded. It's a beautiful place. And I'm fortunate to have that monument in my district. And, the Parks Department keeps it great. Home Depot has been a great partner. They do so many great things with our veterans. So shout out to Home Depot. Along with King Quality, they put in roofs on these veterans halls. And these guys don't have the money. This is their place where they get peer-to-peer contact. They support one another. They serve our country, and then they give back to our county. They continue to do that in ways that, all things basement. He just did at Medford's basement. They're having a problem with water intrusion. King Quality did the roof over in 6249 in Rocky Point, Joe Cognitory, commander. We have these businesses coming out like Home Depot, and there are plenty others. And I'm sorry, I can't mention all of them right now, but we make it a point to recognize them. They get it. They get it that how important it is for these veterans to have a place of their own, to come together, to meet. They plan. Our Catholic War veterans, I had breakfast with them last month. A great group of guys, all getting up there in age, but they're still out there.
Right.
They're still giving back. You see them selling their poppies, folks. You see these veterans selling their poppies, go make a donation, because they don't sell them. They ask for donations. And that's how they pay the bills. That's how they pay the electric and the heat for these halls. And selling poppies, come on. You're not
making a huge dent at once.
Right. I got to stop saying the word sell. They don't sell anything. They give them.
Right.
And ask for a donation if you'd be so kind. They're not selling anything, folks. But support your veterans. They do amazing work. I've been out to their ceremonies, whether it be at the post, out at Calverton National Cemetery. You see the riders and the bikes that they're out there, and they do the memorial rides for the fallen, the veterans who passed away. They give them the honor ride, the honor guard. It's amazing what they continue to do, giving scholarships out to all the local kids in the high schools, having 5Ks. Support these efforts of these veterans, ladies and gentlemen, because, it's funny because they don't look for a handout. They look to give back and continue giving back. The least we can do is honor that.
Right.
Just use them as an example, the role model of how they've already committed so much. Our Vietnam veterans, welcome home. They had it tough when they came back. The stuff that they went through, right? To come back to that at that time. We as a nation understand that was wrong. We as a nation, as a county, are trying to make amends for that. Will we ever be able to totally do that? No. But we make it a point to say welcome home to our Vietnam veterans. Thank you to all the veterans that served, whether it be Korea, whether it be the newer veterans that were in Afghanistan or Saudi Arabia or whatever it may be, in the Desert Storm and all those conflicts. It's just a different world. And when you see someone who comes home and has that kind of love and respect for our flag and love and respect for this country and what they give back to our county, please, our Suffolk County Veterans Run Series, including the Suffolk County Marathon. Look, we're honoring some brave soldiers, some Gold Star families. The sheriff family is one of them that got me involved. He's the granddaddy of the Suffolk County Veterans Series. He organized all these 5Ks into the Veterans Series, which was wonderful. And the Run for Briggs and the Operation Vest and the Pause of War. Look at the organizations we have across Suffolk County, right? You've seen it. We work very closely with them. Jordan's run out in Sag Harbor, probably one of the most beautiful scenic runs there is out there. But when you think that a Pause of War, the Warrior Ranch, Vet Dogs, the Joseph Dwyer Project, General Needs. You gotta understand that these veterans, they're proud.
Yeah.
A lot of our homeless are veterans that they're just too proud. I go into the woods in my area. We talk to these veterans. Some take the help. Some are thankful for the opportunity. They take temporary help, whether it be food cards or blankets, whatever it is, and they'll manage.
Right.
You know, that's the way it is. You know, you're taught and trained in the military. Make it work. Get over it. Suck it up. You know, and when they come back with that transition from military life to civilian life, first thing they tell you, we're not going to complain. We're not going to ask. You know, and no one wants a handout, but let's give them a hand up, right? Let's offer them, you know, hey, look, here's an opportunity for you. How about that?
Right.
You make the most of it. Here's an opportunity. And that's all they want. And that's what they look for is an opportunity. You know, they want to earn what they get. They want to contribute. They want to give back. I mean, you give a homeless veteran $5 and he sees someone who needs help, he's going to give $2.50 to the person next to him who needs help. And that's just the way they are.
They are.
They're just wonderful, wonderful individuals who have served this country. We got to get back to them. I can't do enough for them. I'm at every one of their events. Well, I try to get to as many as I can. We have the Long Island State Veterans Home in Stony Brook, Fred Skanger and his whole team, John and the whole team, what they do for our veterans who you know, came to that stage of their life, who they need a place to live and have aides by around them. That's one of the finest in the country. If you haven't been there, I urge everyone, take an hour out of your day once, go down, and you can visit anybody. You don't have to particularly know a veteran in that home. You can go visit them, listen to their stories. My gosh, it's like a living history book. They'll tell you their stories. Some are more difficult to listen to. Some are fantastic. You forget where time went. You'll blink an eye and it's 2 hours and you're listening to this person's journey, what they went through from boot camp to the training to getting into the mix. All right. And then transitioning, you know, back to the life. It's a journey. It's a process. And just thank you for all those who served out there and continue to serve. So our veterans are a great group, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, yeah, we can never do enough for our veterans, in my opinion, right? I mean, these guys have gone out there, they've defended our country. A lot of them did it as teenagers, going overseas at 18, 19 years old, right? So to take on that sort of responsibility that early on in life and that sort of risk to maintain the life that my family has here at home. You know, I can't thank those veterans enough. And a lot of those organizations you mentioned, you know, Warrior Ranch, we had Larry Ortolani on a prior episode, right? Warrior Ranch is great. Paws of War, I have a handful of friends who have gotten dogs from Paws of War, right? That's another great organization that helps veterans with their, you know, their home life and having that loving dog at home to show them their compassion. General Needs, we've partnered up with them on several occasions for fundraisers for simple things that you don't always think of for veterans, but like, you know, new socks, new underwear, new undershirts, sneakers, and they do all of that, pillows, I mean, listen, we just had them in our last veterans committee, and they do amazing work. I gotta say, so impressed, and I'll be remiss. I mentioned a couple of these people, but Affatato Paving and Suffolk Paving, they redid, I mean, torn up and redid parking lots for Post 400 in Farmville, the American Legion out in Mastic Beach. They donated their services, the goods. I mean, that's great to hear. And that's great for the public to hear that there are people out there that are donating their time, their materials to these causes. I wish I could say I jumped out, I had to knock on doors and then knock down. No, I made a phone call. Yeah. And the answer was yes. That's great to hear. When do they need it? And they get it, that these halls are their revenue source. They rent them out for, you know, birthday parties, you know, whatever it may be, small things, small Eagle Scout events and stuff like that. And they get a little revenue. They're able to keep the lights on. Yeah, they get it. They get it. And talk about scouts, man. These Eagle Scouts. Aren't they amazing? Wow. I go to these Eagle Scout events and the Girl Scouts with the Gold Stars. Man, I tell you, it really is like a good dose of, wow, we have a future. There's some kids out there. They're not all on their bicycles menacing in the streets. These kids are putting to be an Eagle. That's something else. It's no easy task. And a lot of these guys, you know, these girls, these young boys, they're putting these projects together that really help beautify the community too. A lot of, you know, they do their public, their park benches, or, you know, when I was working at the 7th precinct, we had like a little patio area with benches and flowers around. It was beautiful. That was put together by Boy Scouts. It was great. Yeah. It's impressive. It really does take a village to get to the rank of Eagle, which is the highest rank in the Boy Scouts.
it takes a village. I mean, first it takes the commitment of the parents.
Right.
You got to drive them everywhere. And then you have the mentors. You have these scout leaders, and their fellow scouts. They lean on each other. They have to. It doesn't get done without all of them at one time. So it's impressive to see the youth of Suffolk County that's out there. It's such an impressive bunch. Bright, articulate, respectful, and it's a delight. It's one of the best parts of my job. It's when I get to go to Eagle Scout or I get to go to elementary school and you get the Q&As from 5th grade students. And, they ask amazing questions. But listen, you gotta take the good with the bad. There's some difficult parts of this job, as you know, with your job. Then there's the rewarding parts, right? Right. When you help somebody, right? What better reward is that? You look someone in the eye and they know you're for real. Right. And I only know how to be me. And take it or leave it. And you'll always know where you stand with me. I'm a regular guy. I'm not above anybody. I'm not entitled. My mother's name is on auditorium. My brother, Joseph, who was presiding officer, is a legislator. His picture's on the wall there. I built my own career within my community. I had no sense of entitlement. I want to earn everything I get. And I think I'm getting there. I'm doing the best I can. But with partners like you, with all law enforcement, partners with AME and our colleagues in the county who are doing all the great work, our crossing guards and DPW and our parks department. It really is a great county when you it's easy to pick out flaws, all right? Of course, they stand out, I guess. People complain about them. Look at all the good that's going on. Right. If you take a minute, we have some of the best parks in all of New York State. People come from all over New York State, all over the country to come to our beaches. Right. Our beautiful villages in the Hamptons, but not just the Hamptons. We have Patchogue Village, we have Babylon Village, Lindenhurst. It's a beautiful county. Beautiful, right? Yep. God bless.
And I'm glad you brought up that it's easy to point out flaws, because it's so easy to point out what's wrong in society, right? But it's a whole nother challenge to try to fix it and come up with solutions to problems, right? And you've built a career on that. And one of the things that I want to make sure we touch on before we wrap up is you mentioned it earlier, your role in the school districts, but we talk all the time how the current Board of Education people could be tomorrow's legislators. And you've grown up in the school district first, and now you're a legislator here. So can you just touch on a little bit how that whole scope of public service has led to where you are now at this point?
I think it speaks for itself. Yeah. It was just a progression, like any progression scale. You have to be willing to put the time in, make sacrifices. I can't tell you how many Little League games and dance recitals I missed when my kids were young. And do I regret that? Absolutely. But I'm making a better life for them. Right. And I learned. Now I have more time,
it's tough to balance.
It is a balancing act. Yeah. And as far as the people who always come with the problems, we know what the problems are. And you want to come with a solution. Tell me how we can make it better. What's your idea? Let's take the time. Let's sit down. Let me hear from you. If you're going to come and constantly just throw mud and just point fingers and just come with all the negativity, well, I have enough of that. Come with what your ideas are. Right. No idea is a dumb idea. Let's listen to them. Maybe there's a nugget in there that we can utilize that we didn't think about. Be productive. All right. Don't be counterproductive. We don't need any more of that. We have enough negativity in this world. We have enough in this county to last us a million years. If you want to be helpful, stop pointing out the problems. You know what those are. Come with us with your ideas, with solutions. I'm willing to listen. I'm one of those people that call my office. Let me see what you got. Send me an email. If something that I think is feasible, something I think is efficient, something effective, let's talk about it. Yeah. All right. And I'll give you full credit for it. I'm not in this for, look at what I'm doing. I'm in look what we've done. Look what we've done together. And that's, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a politician.
I'm sure your kids also are starting to see the benefits of all the work that you put in to your job and all the time you've given up from them, but they can see the benefits in the county and all the services that they get and how much better it is because of the work that you and your family, your mother and your brother have given to the county.
Yeah, I hope so. I didn't make it a point to tell my mom, "Oh, you're doing such a great job. Wow, you're amazing." I was too cool for that. I was a teenage boy, and I was like, "Yeah, Mom, what's for dinner?" But they're growing up with structure. They know they have to clean their rooms. They know they have to be respectful to others. And, I'm trying trying to raise them the best way I can. They're accountable for their actions, their consequences. I don't mind taking their phones away. And, back in the day when I grew up, getting sent to our room was like, oh no, it's like solitary confinement. Right. Now you go to the room, they're like, yeah, I'm going there anyway. What?
Yeah, right. It's a different world. It's a different world.
Right. They have access to everything. So you got to take away that phone. You got to take away the iPad and, and then let them think about it. But I think to answer your question, I guess I hope they see the difference I'm making. I know that they're pretty bright kids. I'm very fortunate. I think they're picking up on it. Look, one can only hope. We do the best we can. And, at some point they got to navigate for themselves. And you just hope when that time comes, they're prepared.
Right.
And this is a tough world to navigate through. It really is. Social media, you can't get away with nothing. Everything is in the moment, right? It's funny. I heard someone say, imagine back when you were growing up, you took a picture of your food, you got it developed, you put it in an envelope, and you mailed it to your friend and say, hey, look what I had for dinner 3 days. Right? You're like, what's wrong with you? You go on Instagram, you see a big plate of sushi or pasta and meatballs, whatever. It's just a different world we live in. I thought that was funny when someone pointed out. I can't take credit for that, but that struck a chord with me. I thought that was hysterical. And it's a different world we live in. So you're living in the moment. So you got to be careful because time flies. It's tough to get away with things these days. It's not like it used to be. I don't get it. When I see those pictures, take a bite out of crime or whatever, wanted, the precincts post pictures of people rolling out these carts full of merchandise from Home Depot or PC Richards, whatever it may be. I don't know. They're looking like right up at the camera. And then they follow the car all the way right back to the house on all these cameras. Well, you're out of your minds. What is going on, people? Wake up, man. Wake up. Yep. It's not that difficult to do the right thing.
It's not.
It takes more effort to do the wrong thing, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It really does. You gotta seriously think about it, plan it out. How am I going to get away with this? It's crazy. Stop it.
There's no secret playbook. If you play by the rules and you just become this positive contributor to society, you're going to live, like how you put it, a successful life in the future. You're going to be somebody that you live in that American dream where you just feel like you're not a menace to society. You're not putting everybody else down, making life harder on the people around you, but you're actually being a positive contributor.
That's the word. Yeah. You beat me to it. If you're contributing back in a positive way, you're successful. Yep. You can't just say, well, what am I getting? What am I getting? What are you giving? Right. What are you giving back? Right. And that's the balance. Right. We talked, Hannah, you talked about balance earlier. You said that word, and it's prolific because there has to be a balance in everything we do, from personal life to careers, health and wellness. There's a balance, right? Making time for the kids and going to the events. It's a balance. And it's tough. It's not easy. It's a struggle, but that's the reality of life. Right. It's not easy, right? Right. And I wish if it was easy, everybody would do it. Right. But listen, guys, I really, truly appreciate, I know, you're going to have to edit this down. You're going to cut about 90 minutes out of this conversation. But the fact of the matter is, we're not doing anything different we don't do when we see each other at these events. We talk about current events. We talk about what's happening in the county. We talk about what's happening with our families. And I appreciate that, guys. You treat me as one of your own. I consider you guys friends. I consider you guys, the best of the best, because Suffolk County Police is the best of the best. Sorry, Nassau County. Not sorry. But, this is fun. This is easy.
And we appreciate all the support that you give us, obviously. But most of all, we appreciate your friendship. We appreciate you coming on today and sharing a little bit about what your experience and what you've done at the Ledge. And we look forward to the future of what Nick Caracappa has to do in Suffolk County.
Folks, listen, these police officers, these men and women, the family members, the volunteer firefighters, the coaches. I don't know if they're volunteer firefighters, but they're coaches, the PTA members, the members of our society, the members of our community. Don't be intimidated by it. They're here to help. All right. When you see police, a sector car pull up, you see a policewoman, a police officer, a policeman coming toward you. Don't feel intimidated. Feel thankful and grateful that someone is there to help you. All right. That's the best message I can give you. If you have nothing to fear, if you're doing nothing wrong, well, if you're doing something wrong, yeah, I get that. But that's, again, being a positive contributor to our community, respecting one another. I know you guys have a great amount of respect for our residents because you are residents, and the residents should have the same amount of respect for those in law enforcement and for all first responders for that matter. So, been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you,
for
Nick.
joining
We
us.
appreciate you coming on. And it's a
100%.
great closing message. Thank you.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you, Nick.
Tanner, thank you, brother.